Speaking of audio, I'm testing mine. Can you hear me?
I can hear you and we see you. Thank you.
All right, good. And in fact, here's a factoid nobody knows except my husband, but audio is my latest starting word in Wordle, if any of you are playing Wordle. It gets you 4 of the vowels.
It's a strong first step there.
So have you done your audio check with any of our other council members?
The only one I believe I've missed is Councilmember Lee Ang.
Angel, can you hear me okay?
And we can hear you and see you perfectly. Mayor, if you're ready to start, let me know and I can hit the record button.
Go ahead, and then I'll.
Recording in progress.
So I'll call to order this regular meeting of the Los Altos City Council on Tuesday, October 25th at 7:01 p.m. City Clerk, would you please call roll and establish quorum?
Yes, Mayor. Members of the council, if you are present here this evening, please indicate so by answering in the affirmative. Councilmember Flagger.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Lee Ang.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Weinberg.
Here.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Meadows.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Enander.
Here.
Thank you. All members are present.
And City Clerk, would you introduce our guest tonight who are going to lead us in the pledge?
Yes, Mayor, members of the council, this evening we have with us Evangeline and Adeline Wang, and they are with Troop 60615 that will be leading us with the Pledge of Allegiance this evening.
Great. Are you ready, ladies? Yeah. Go ahead when you're ready.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And let's see, which one is Evangeline? Hi. So what grade are you in and in what school?
I'm in 3rd grade at Bullis Charter School.
At Bullis Charter School. 3rd grade's a great grade. It's great fun that year. And how long have you been a scout?
I've been a scout for 2 years.
2 years. Well, good luck with the rest of your scouting career. And so Adelaide, you must be the older sister.
Yes.
And what grade are you in?
I'm in 5th grade.
5th grade? And are you at Bullis also?
Yes.
Great. Well, you guys have a great year of school, great holidays coming up, and thank you so much for joining us tonight and doing that in perfect unison. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. We had no closed session this evening, so there's nothing to report there. Is there anyone who wants to request a change to the order of the agenda? Councilmember Lee Ng.
Hi, Mayor. Thank you so much. I'd like to request a change to, and I'd like to make a motion to move agenda item 8 to be added to the consent agenda, supporting Proposition 1.
Okay, city attorney's got her hand up.
Yes, I just need to advise that in the limited circumstances where council members can support a ballot measure without it being a misuse of public funds or advocacy for a measure, the requirements are that it be held at a regular meeting and allow the public permission to express their views for and against that measure. So I recommend against moving it. I just want to make sure that we follow that rule about having the public access to this measure.
Okay, we do usually allow comments on the consent calendar. So can we move it to the consent calendar and then hear all public comments on all matters on the consent calendar? just asking for
No,
clarification.
I wouldn't do that because it would have
Okay.
to be polled. So let's just leave it where it is.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. Then we will move to public comments. Anything else anyone wants to move? Not that, I don't think we have anything to move.
Well, that
so
said, Mayor, I would like to withdraw my motion.
Thank you very much, Councilmember. I appreciate your efforts to expedite this evening's conversation. Let's move to public comments on items not on the agenda. City Clerk?
Members of the audience, if you'd like to address the council on items not on the agenda, this is the time to do so. Please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen to indicate your willingness to speak. Meanwhile, I'll bring up my timer.
Okay.
Mayor, I see 3 folks with their hands raised.
Okay. Since we have such a heavy agenda tonight, let's give everyone 3 minutes and know that they can sometimes finish sooner.
All right, we will give them 3 minutes and share screen, clock, share. Our first speaker this evening is Nadja Jackson.
Hello, may I be heard?
We
Yes.
hear you.
Great, thank you. So thank you so much. I'm Nadja Jackson. I'm here representing Los Altos Mountain View Community Foundation. I just came to thank the council and staff who generously granted use of space at the Los Altos Community Center for the Compassion Week kickoff on October 15th. I especially want to thank Gabe England and his staff for coordinating the use of the facilities and making it so easy for us to get in and out of the building and having staff available to help. I also want to thank Mayor Inander and Councilperson Flagger for attending our press conference and for participating in the hands-on volunteer activities. Overall, we had over 250 people join in activities last Saturday and over 3,500 throughout the week. We showed that once again, we can come together as a community and work side by side with our nonprofit partners, the private sector, and our local governments to help build a more compassionate and empathetic community. We really appreciated the proclamation that you read at the last meeting. Thank you again for your support. And I will close early.
Thank you and all of the volunteers and everyone who was involved. And thank you to our community for such an outpouring of compassion and action in response to your call to do so. City Clerk?
Yes, our next speaker is Roberta Phillips. Roberta, are you there?
Yes, hi, good evening.
Good evening, we can hear you.
Good. On the consent calendar, item number 4 is the Complete Street Master Plan, and I would like to have that moved for discussion.
Okay, so just to clarify, this is a section for comments not on the agenda. I will come back to you with the understanding that you're going to request as a community member to pull item 4 from the consent.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Gary Heaton.
Good evening, honored council. This is Gary Hedden. I'm speaking on behalf of Greentown, Los Altos, and I'd like to tell you that we have a talk coming up at the library tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. It is called, "Is There a Heat Pump in My Future?" And heat pumps is a technology that can be very impactful as we try to take on the challenge of climate change. But it is sometimes misunderstood, and quite frankly, it is not for everyone. There are some costs involved. But this is a great time to be thinking about it. There are a lot of incentives and rebates that are now available. And we will have 2 seniors from a program on environmental studies at San Jose State who have evaluated heat pump technology, and they will be presenting their findings. We will have a contractor in the audience who will be able to answer questions. We'll have Don Bray in the audience, who is from Silicon Valley Clean Energy. He will be able to answer your questions. And I think it will be a useful opportunity to learn about heat pump technology. It can heat your hot water. It can heat your house and cool your house. It's an air conditioner as well. So there's a lot of versatility here, and I hope to get a good turnout. I'd like to see you all attend. Thank you.
Mr. Hedden, would you clarify what time does it begin at the library?
Good question. 7 o'clock.
Thank you very much.
And with that, Mayor, there's no others, members of the public with their hand raised.
Okay. Then we will move to the consent calendar. And I'll note that Ms. Phillips wanted to pull item number 4. Does anyone want to pull anything else? Then I'll take a motion for items 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7. Councilmember Weinberg?
So moved.
Thank you. Councilmember, Vice Mayor Meadows?
Second.
Thank you. City Clerk?
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, if you are in favor of the motion, which is to approve the consent calendar all but item 4, please indicate so by answering in the affirmative. Councilmember Fliger?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Weinberg?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Lee Eng?
Yes.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Meadows?
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Enander?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes with a unanimous vote.
Okay. I'd like to go ahead and deal with item number 4 before we move to discussion items. So let's see. Let me, under the circumstances, this was pulled by a community member. Council, would you concur with the propriety of asking the public for their comments before we discuss anything? I see heads going up and down, so I'm going to ask, City Clerk, would you ask for any members of the public who wish to comment on item number 4? And especially, would you ask Ms. Phillips to return? There she is.
Yes, I see Ms. Phillips with her hand raised. If there
Thank
are
you.
others who'd like to join her to address the Complete Streets Master Plan, which is item 4 on the consent calendar, this is your time to speak to council about it. And please raise your hand.
Okay, City Clerk, let's give them each 3 minutes, please.
Yes, Mayor. Then our first speaker is Miss Roberta Phillips.
Hi, good evening. So the master plan for the complete streets, you know, I read the 250-page report, and, you know, there's no doubt that all of us in the community want for, you know, bicycle safety and pedestrian safety, as well as, you know, people who are driving their cars. You know, there's no debate on that. My big concern is twofold. On page 95, they talk about a class 4 bike lanes, which would consist of having physical barriers in the road, the bollards or curves or other physical barriers on the outside of the bike lane. My concern with that, and this hits a lot of streets. The map shows San Antonio Road, Almond, El Monte, El Camino, Covington, Full Expressway, Grant Road, etc. And all of these roads are emergency evacuation routes. And we've already experienced, some problems with other projects that have happened. We need to be able to have cars pull over if there's an ambulance or a fire truck, in the event of an earthquake or a fire. These physical barriers are really very, very controversial. And I would hope that the community has more time to discuss what is proposed, because everything that is conceivably possible was put in this report in relationship to bicycles and pedestrians. It is challenging to call this a complete streets master plan because it doesn't include traffic, safety, or traffic calming. And I think we really need to be able to look at the whole picture without separating it out. And people need to be able to find it on the city website, and neighbors need to be made aware of what could happen in their neighborhood. And I think that, it's been a challenge with COVID and getting the word out, but I would urge city staff and council to please involve the community more and discuss the pros and cons of some of these options that are in the report. Thank you.
Our next public speaker is Mark, sorry if I mispronounced your last name, Seidel.
Thank you so much, City Council members. My name is Mark Seidel, and I'm a resident of Mountain View, but I grew up in Los Altos. I work in Los Altos. I'm a property owner in downtown Los Altos, and I'm also working with the Safe Routes to Downtown Los Altos group. I just wanted to share that I strongly support the Complete Streets Master Plan. I think it's fantastic. There are so many wonderful things in there that will increase safety for pedestrians, for cyclists, for everyone using our roads. I did want to point out that in addition to what's in the master plan, I would like to see more attention devoted to specifically to the West Edith intersection with Foothill Expressway. I feel like that was kind of missed in the master plan, and I've been talking with a lot of folks in the community about the need to put more attention there. So we've created some feedback and shared comments, and I just want the council to support the staff working with the Safe Routes to Downtown group and encourage us also looking beyond kind of shorter term ideas at really long-term big ideas that we could make for enhancements across Foothill Expressway, both at Edith and at Main. So I hope that we can continue to collaborate. I hope the council can support that. And I do really want to thank you for working so hard to increase safety, improve safety, and again, encourage you to support the Complete Streets Master Plan. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Janine Valadez.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, I'm Janine Valadez, and I'm speaking as a member of the public and not as a Parks and Rec Commissioner. I will be brief. I support the Complete Street Master Plan. A quick comment as to the barrier-based bike lanes. They are a safety provision for bicyclists, and they are just as necessary when there is no emergency on the road as there is when there is an emergency on the road. The last thing we need is a emergency vehicle storming down and cars trying to get out of the way, running over bicyclists. So from a practical standpoint, they do provide some level of, some measure of protection, especially as people get used to them. I endorse the plan. I appreciate the council approving it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Brian Jones.
Thank you, Council. I would just like to pipe in and express my support for the Complete Streets plan as well. I think it's really important that we base our decisions on evidence and expert understanding of, especially in this case, safety. It's pretty clear from, what's been published online. It's easy to find by Googling around for 5 minutes that There's a lot of data on this, and protected bike lanes are absolutely safer for everyone. So we need to, and I'm sure that that's what the experts on the panel found when they wrote the report. So we need to be deferring to evidence and to experts instead of sort of succumbing to fear of things that might happen that are not really reasonable from a statistical safety standpoint. So I urge you guys to consider that and to approve the Complete Streets plan. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Pete Daly.
Hi, everybody. So I'm commenting as a member of the public and not as a commissioner for the Parks and Recreation Commission. And I'm also commenting as somebody who rides his e-bike around town to avoid as many car trips as I can. And, it scares me. And I can't imagine what it's like for our kids. And I support the Complete Streets Master Plan, and I support the evidence-based judgment of the experts who have spent months and months and months on this plan. So please approve this plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tony Moose. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I just wanted to also be very brief and just reiterate that I too support the complete street plan. And I think the key here, we have all seen near accidents with our kids, our neighborhood kids biking to and from school. So it's imperative that we do all that we can to protect all bicyclists in our community. So I would urge us all to defer to the experts who spent all this time coming up with the Complete Streets plan, and we approve it in order to assure the safety of our community bicyclists. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Joe Beninado.
Yes, hi, good evening. Speaking as a resident, not quite yet sworn in as a commissioner, but soon. I think we have a history of having commissions do a ton of work on something like this, which is an incredible document. If you've gone through it, you see the care and attention that people have dedicated to this over months and probably years, given some of the time they've spent on the commission. And I know in particular, I've spoken with Nadeem Malouf about it, and really thought through, understands the issues. And I just hate when we just brush aside what a commission who's invested all this time has done. I ride my bike a lot, and there are a number of really dangerous spots around town, and some that are, controlled by Caltrans and others on Foothill Expressway and elsewhere. But whatever we can do to make Los Altos more pedestrian and bicycle friendly relative to the, multi-thousand pound vehicles that we all own, I think is really important. And I urge you to pass this tonight. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Christine Y.
Hi, I'm thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. Frankly, I can't believe that we're even, I thought the Complete Streets thing was just going to be approved and go through. And the fact that we have to come here and talk about it again, and even though it's all completed, please, please, please approve this plan. My son and a group of friends meet at my house every morning, and they ride their bikes to Los Altos High School. And I'm not kidding, like maybe twice a week, he'll tell me of near misses that happen coming back from the high school. El Camino, and that's on Almond, and San Antonio, has been put a lot of effort into making it safe. And even with that, those safety precautions, it's still not safe. And there are, drivers that are distracted, they're on their phones. It's incredible. And so everything, we have to do everything we can to protect bikers. March 17th of this year, a 13-year-old bicyclist died after a collision with a transport truck on the corner of El Camino and Grant Road. And if you don't know about that, you should Google it and read about it. That is, it makes me cry to think that this is even being like, disputed, or if somebody's like acting as a barrier or is trying to add, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. We have to pass this. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, Mayor, I see no further public speakers.
Thank you. So let me bring it back to council for comment. Councilmember Weinberg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm glad I'm able to go first since I'm the 2-year now liaison to the Complete Streets Commission. I believe that our hopefully soon to be adopted Complete Streets Master Plan is one of the best documents that I have seen in this area. And I actually have seen quite a lot of them. I was in the Champions program for a while with a national organization dedicated to transportation safety. Complete Streets is a movement that is gaining more and more speed throughout the country because it simply makes so much sense. And the data shows that it is a better, safer way of approaching transportation, all forms of transportation throughout a city. I want to thank very much, first and foremost, staff and our consultants who spent so much time putting this document together. I want to thank the Complete Streets Commission for all the work that they have done, for the task force that have worked with the consultants and staff to put this together, to the community. I mean, there has been so much community involvement, from the interactive website to public comments. And finally, I want to thank my colleague, all of us on the council. This document is now on its 3rd draft. I think that it is a better document based upon the input that the council has given, as well as the rest of the community. And I would like to go ahead at this point and move that we adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Los Altos, adopting the Complete Streets Master Plan and Active Transportation Framework.
Thank you. Councilmember Lee Ing. You are muted.
Thank you, Mayor. I do support the plan, but I would like to have make a friendly amendment to that motion. I still feel that I agree that I thank the staff for the hard work, and I think that we all support the plan, but there are still a few changes that I feel needs to be made. I just feel that the document does not reflect the content, and I appreciate the staff making the effort to address our concerns and their attempt to make the title different to address what we thought it focuses on, and that is the bike and pedestrian aspect of the report. So I think in order to make this more reflective of what the document's content is, I think that it can be kept, but we should have a dash after an active transportation framework, and it should say bike and pedestrian. And I think that would make it more complete. I would like to, at this time, highlight that there are just other suggestions I would make. So I would second it with the amended changes after we have further discussion and what other improvements we may and edits that may be needed. Thank you.
To avoid going back in circles, are you prepared to say what other changes you would want made?
Yes.
Could you briefly, could you go through those?
Okay, I appreciate the reference in the executive summary to the 2 other plans. But I do want to make sure that moving forward or after our discussion, we do provide direction that the other plans should be updated, and we should provide direction to do that. I also recognize that as you go through the plan again, we do make reference to arterials and collectors, and I think it would be wise for us to add those items in our definitions. I think it's a little bit cleanup, and it just adds to when people want to read the report, they have reference to. We all understand what these reference to, but I think when people pick up the document, they might not always know what we're talking about. So I just feel it makes it more complete.
Is that it?
Yeah,
Thank you. Vice Mayor Meadows.
Thank you, Mayor. So I want to repeat I won't repeat, but I'm repeating the sentiment of the thanks that Councilmember Weinberg delivered to everyone who's done such a good job on this document. I completely support it in the form that we're seeing it in tonight, but I do want to take the opportunity, since this was pulled and we're talking, I want to clarify, because there seems to be some general misunderstanding of how our plans work in this city. And our plans, whether it's the Complete Street Master Plan or our original Climate Action Plan or the Climate Action and Adaptation or Loyola Corner Specific Plan, these are all aspirational documents. They are none of them intended to say that every item in these plans are going to be done. They are an assortment of tools that over the length of time during which the plan is serving as a basis for us to work on, we can pull from those plans. When we do pull items from the plans, they come forward to commissions and councils and the community, and we talk about them again. So this is a living document. So, it doesn't mean that something's in this plan or CAP or any other plan, and therefore, if it's in there, then, it's going forward full steam ahead and, tough luck, none of us have any say in it. That's not how this works. So these are aspirational documents, and this is at least the third version we've seen of it. I appreciate the work, and I fully support it this evening.
Thank you. Councilmember Flagger.
Thank you. And I'll start by seconding Councilmember Weinberg's motion. I think we need to close that loop as a point of order before we can move forward with any proposed amendments. So I'll second his motion because I don't think he withdrew it. And ditto on all the thanks. I won't repeat them. We are trying to have a shorter meeting tonight. And my only question, it's really just clarifying it for the public, because I've received this question as well, and one of the speakers this evening raised it, and I don't know if it's Marissa or who on staff would respond to this question, but to the Vice Mayor's point that this is a living document, if for whatever reason a particular intersection or street is not called out in the plan as drafted today, what is the process to add an intersection or another project to the plan?
Good evening. I can speak to that. This is Jim Sandoval, Public Works Director, and thanks for the question, Councilmember Flagor. Things come up all the time, as you know, and as did recently West Edith and Foothill. That came up recently. The plan was already, for the most part, complete by that point. In situations like that, we have, definitely any new issues that come up, we as staff, we look at and prioritize in addition to the priorities we have in the Complete Streets Master Plan, and we make a decision like, yeah, it's either more important than what's in the plan, or it does rank in the high priorities, and then we'll make moves to address it and work out solutions. Whether or not that gets technically added to the plan, that's something we haven't thought about. Certainly we could, create addendums I would say if it's a problem that is going to take kind of years to solve, that, yeah, perhaps we keep a list of those issues and then add addendums to this plan. But if it's something that we need to address right away because it's a safety issue, we're just going to take care of it and not worry about updating the complete streets plan.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Sandoval, and for all your work over the years. Thank you.
Okay. Then I'm going to also thank everyone and echo the words of my colleagues, those spoken and those already doubly affirmed or triply affirmed or quadruply affirmed, for all of the effort. And I specifically appreciate changes made at the last minute where there was a glitch that hadn't been caught and that we got the Mercedes to El Camino path removed. I appreciate the title change. I have to find myself a little bit in sympathy with what Councilmember Lee Eng said. I had hoped that the title we'd put on this thing would actually indicate that the content is really about bicycle and pedestrian and does not really deal with traffic management. I appreciate that the other plans have been referenced, but this still doesn't specify that this is really only a piece of the pie and that we haven't got a good handle on how we're handling car traffic along with this. That said, council member, I'm prepared to support the plan. I would be in favor of what Councilmember Lee Eng said about making a small addition to the cover that indicates it's bicycle and pedestrian. That was something she offered as a friendly amendment, but Mr. Weinberg, you are the maker of the motion. That's up to you.
Thank you again, Mayor. I think I understand the purpose of the friendly amendment. We want our plans to be as clear and straightforward as possible, not just for professional staff, not just for experts in the field, but for any member of the public who does not have a background in traffic engineering and traffic safety and anything related to that. Someone who says, hey, there's a problem with the roadways here. How do we go about addressing it? Oh, we have a plan. What does the plan say? I think that's what I'm hearing as the motivation behind the friendly amendment. I'm not inclined to agree to the friendly amendment because active transportation means other modes of transportation besides motors, besides cars. It includes cycling. It includes pedestrians. It also includes people on scooters. It includes skateboards. It includes roller skates. That's what active transportation is. Passive transportation is sitting in your car, pressing the gas and the brake and steering. Active transportation is using your body somehow to propel you along. So what the friendly amendment proposes, I think, is actually redundant. I don't think it adds anything and might actually cause confusion, because what about people who are on a scooter? What about someone in a wheelchair? You know, why aren't I a part of this? What plan do I have to go to? Whereas active transportation encompasses all of that.
Councilmember, can I ask a question? And I'm going to apologize. I have not memorized all of the things that are in the definitions, but is that defined in the definitions in the document? Because what you just said is something that was new information to me.
What part was new?
I did not know that that was the definition of active transportation. And if we're trying to be clear with the public, and I don't claim to.
Okay. So on page
everything, but
in the glossary,
yes,
on page Roman numeral lower letters, I, active transportation is defined as any self-propelled human-powered mode of transportation, such as walking or bicycling.
Great. So it's in the glossary. So the cover terminology is in the glossary.
Yes.
Okay. And therefore you are not inclined to accept the friendly amendment?
Yes.
Okay, then I think we have a motion and a second. So City Clerk, would you please call?
Oh, Mayor, I would like to make a substitute.
I'm sorry, go ahead,
motion.
council member. My
I
apology.
would like to make a substitute motion. I
Sure.
think I heard Councilmember Weinberg's reason for not accepting it. And I think it's important that people don't get confusion just based on having to open a document and really read the glossary to better understand what we're referring to. I think that if he is so unaccepting of bicycle/pedestrian, then we should just say human-powered modes of transportation. I think that would address it, and it would then clarify what this document would mean when they talk about active transportation. I don't think people really know that unless they read the document. And this is what we want people to understand. We want to be transparent. We want people to understand what this, when we pick up a document, what they're hoping to look at. So I think we need further clarification, and I would like to make a substitute motion that we can add in parens, then next to active transportation framework, to be human-powered modes of transportation.
Councilmember Weinberg, do you want to react to that before I go on?
I think it is incorrect to say that this document only deals with, or is only concerned with people who are propelling themselves through an active mode of transportation. Complete streets are not just safer for cyclists and pedestrians and what the data shows are also much safer for motorists. The recommendations that are in the plan, whether conceptual or safe routes to school or the proposed concept drawings, all affect motorist safety as well. So I also think I think that it is a mistake to really declare that this is just a plan to make it safer for cyclists and pedestrians. I think that it truly is a plan to make our city streets safer for everyone. There is a reference in the plan to Vision Zero, which is a national movement that works, sort of dovetails with the Complete Streets movement. And the idea behind that is that accidents are preventable, they're not necessarily inevitable. Making our streets safer isn't done by looking just at traffic patterns. It isn't done just at looking at cyclist safety, pedestrian safety. We're accomplishing safe streets, complete streets, by looking at all forms of transportation. So the Complete Streets Master Plan focuses on active transportation, but it absolutely encompasses making our streets safer for motorists as well.
Is there a second to Councilmember Lee Eng's motion?
Can I comment?
Please, and then I'm going to call for a vote.
Okay. I just want to make people aware of what we are trying to do. We want to encourage people to understand the documents we put forward. We want to understand when people pick these documents up, they know what the emphasis of these documents are. And if you read this document, the heavy emphasis is on bike and pedestrian. And he had a problem with, I understand Councilmember Weinberg's problem with calling it a bike and pedestrian, but that's the heavy emphasis of this report. Then I tried to work with making sure that we can all look at how we would be comfortable and then work with the definition of what active transportation is. I think putting it in parens, highlighting what it is, then, and it says so, human powered modes of transportation. And I'm surprised that we would have a problem with that. So I just think it's important that we help make it easier for people to understand what documents they are referring to and need to pick up when they're looking for information. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. And I agree with you that I think the use of jargon here does not serve transparency well at all. But I'm also confident that an attempt to change the title at this point is not going to be successful. So I'm going to, for lack of a second, call that the principal motion, main motion, be voted on now by our city clerk.
Yes,
Calling roll.
thank you, Mayor. If members of the council, if you are in favor of approving item number 4 as presented, please indicate so by saying, answering in the affirmative. Councilmember Weinberg.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Flyer.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Lee Eng.
Yes.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Meadows.
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Enander.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes with the unanimous vote.
Thank you. And we have no public hearings, so we can move to discussion item, which is number 8 on our agenda. And this was requested by several of our council members. So is there someone who wants to take the lead here? Mr. Rodriguez, do you want to introduce this in any way?
This item was asked for by the members of your council. Before you see 2 examples of potential resolutions for your consideration. One is in favor, one is against. And we've also included another example by a previous board of supervisors who's taken a position on this item. That's as much as staff has to say on this, and I'll turn it over to the council for discussion.
All right, council member, city attorney has her hand up.
Hi, I just want to make sure that the council understands what you'll be voting on tonight, and it's a resolution that's just stating support or no support. I don't like using in favor or not in favor, but support or not supporting the Prop 1. And I want the public to know that if this passes, there will be no use of public funds in any sort of advocacy for or against the motion. We will not be doing that. And as such, I just want to make sure that if there's any question about this even being on the agenda, there's case law that supports that having this at a public meeting that everybody can have an opportunity to discuss it has been determined not to be a misuse of public monies. And so it was about a school board, but having this hearing or this public discussion about an initiative was permissible and serves an unrelated purpose to advocacy to a position. So I just want to clarify, this is not the city advocating for or against a measure. It's just a resolution stating its support. And
it's council support, it's not the city's support.
Yeah, council support. Yes, thank you for clarifying that. So just in case there's members in the public are saying, why is council doing this? I just want to make sure that people are clear, and then I'll let you go to your discussion.
Okay, so I see a bunch of hands raised, but I'm wondering if I should have public comment first. I think that's probably wise, unless someone has a specific question for the city attorney about what she just said. So if you have a question for the city attorney, Councilmember Flagger, you are indicating you do. Go ahead.
I do, Mayor, and thank you. So, Ms. Houston, just to follow up on the point you made, and I understand the limitations we have as to the position we're taking tonight and the fact that we cannot use public funds. Can you clarify for us then, assuming we pass a resolution tonight in support of this proposition, what, if anything, we can do with the resolution after tonight?
You're on mute.
Yeah, okay, the little
sorry.
clicker didn't work
There
there.
you go.
I am going to recommend that this resolution, if it passes, or whichever resolution passes, I'm recommending that it not be posted on the city's website. I recommend that we don't do a press release. I don't think we should do any other follow-up that could include city staff time, city facilities, city's computers or websites. So it does not look that we are promoting one position over another. And that's a conservative approach. But I just want to make sure that the council gets to decide tonight if they support or not support this resolution. But I think we should be very conservative and not take it any further, and not have staff do any follow-up, or and I even say don't put it on the website. That's my position right now.
Thank you.
Councilmember Lee Eng, you have a question for the city attorney?
No, actually, it's a question to my peers and for you, Mayor. It might be helpful because I was willing to make a motion, and it might be helpful to the people who are in attendance to understand where we're where we're going to go. So I think if there was a standing motion, it would be helpful, and
it would be different from our normal procedure, and that would concern me. So I think we do have to take.
Trying to limit,
I appreciate
the length of our
your
meeting,
intent.
helping to limit the length of our meeting.
I appreciate your intent, but I think we need to hear from the public before we take a motion. Vice Mayor, did you have a question?
No, I'll wait till after public comment.
And Councilmember Weinberg.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Jolie, procedurally, if the council votes on adopting a resolution, whatever the resolution might say, do we need to have a special meeting to approve the minutes from this meeting in order to make it official? Because our next meeting is not until after the election. And normally nothing's official until the minutes are approved, right? So I'm just concerned that this won't be official until.
A resolution takes effect upon vote. So it's effective as of October 25.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, City Clerk.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
I'd like to take public comment, and I'll say that in advance that I'm going to ask that if we have more than 5 people, we're going to give everyone 1 minute.
Sounds good. Thank you for that direction. Members of the public, if you'd like to address the council on item number 8, which is the Prop 1, please indicate so by raising your hand. And it appears we're holding it 2, so I will prep my 3-minute timer while folks.
And in as much as we are asking people ahead, please to indicate. If I do not see other hands within the next minute, we will give our 2 speakers 3 minutes. We now have 3 speakers. So we will have 3 speakers, and they each have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. Our first speaker will be Joe Beninado.
Good evening. Speaking as a resident, I support a woman's right to choose. Please pass this. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second speaker is Ms. Janine Valadez.
Good evening. I'm speaking as a resident, not as a Park and Rec Commissioner. I also endorse the approval of showing support. I would like to comment, however, that this is all about bodily autonomy, reproductive freedom, and a person's right to choose. I think it's, I understand where Attorney Shirley Houston is coming from. She's got to take the conservative approach. I would ask more bravery from the council to come down on the right side of history and showing support for this proposition. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tony Most.
I too will keep this brief, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I am hoping that the City Council does indeed adopt this resolution. It is important that we continue to support a person's right to choose and to make decisions about their body as they see fit. So please, please do pass this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our public comment.
Thank you. We'll close public comment, bring it back, and I'm going to take the mayor's prerogative and lead here. I actually had a conversation with the city attorney about this because when I come to city council meetings, I try to have an open mind and take all information in, and I cannot have an open mind about this. And that's what I told her. I said, I've been working on this issue for more than 50 years. I believe very, very strongly that a woman has a right to decide what happens with her own health. And it is not a role that government should play. I would really personally rather that we weren't discussing this, only because I do not think that government should be even involved in this in any way. And so I am going to move adoption of the resolution in favor of supporting Proposition 1 and look for what I hope will be support from my colleagues. This is a very, very personal matter for many, many people. There will be people who say that the city council should not be discussing this, but in as much as a majority of our council asked that it be here, we have a responsibility to respond to that request, and that's why I'm going to move action on this. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, that actually is the irony of this issue. The irony is that it's a personal choice, but the threat to that is so great that it requires government to say no. Well, it doesn't require it. The question in front of us is, do we say that we support that it's a personal choice by stepping in to say that? It's one of those weird things. So I completely understand why you're saying that. I support that council, if it agrees that we support. I must admit, and I'm not trying to complicate this, but I don't like how the resolution is worded. The resolution in favor is very inconsistent in terms of language. Some whereases talk about birthing people, some whereases talk about pregnant people, another one talks about birthing mothers. And then even more bothersome to me, aside from that inconsistency, is that it actually only talks about abortion, and it doesn't really echo the language of the proposition itself, or the ballot language itself, which is to talk about both the fundamental right to choose. I have this highlighted, but the yellow isn't showing up in this light. The fundamental right to choose to have an abortion or not, and the fundamental right to choose or refuse contraceptives. And our resolution does not reflect the full spectrum of what is being proposed. So I don't like the resolution, and I'm just going to put that out there, but I do want, whether it's a statement or something, I personally feel it's important to support something somehow.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Weinberg.
Thank you, Mayor. I overwhelmingly am in support of Prop 1. That was never a question for me, and I suspect that's where the majority, if not where all the council is right now. Knowing that I support Prop 1, the real question I had to ask myself as a member of the council is taking a position on Prop 1 in the best interest of Los Altos? And I hate to say it, but that was a more challenging question for me, because taking a position either in support or against Prop 1 is going to alienate a significant part of our community, I believe. Now that's true on every issue that comes before us, but one could argue that it's not necessary for the city to take a position. I came to the conclusion that that's not true. Reproductive rights are human rights. The Dobbs decision is the first time that the Supreme Court has taken away a human right. I think that it is in the interest of the city of Los Altos for this council to lead and take a position supporting Proposition 1. I felt the same way that Sally did. We should not, that government does have a place in quote unquote protecting the unborn. I will simply say to you that you cannot eliminate abortion through legislation. You can only eliminate safe abortion. And that certainly is not in the best interest of our community or the country.
Councilmember Flagger.
Thank you. And I also just piggyback onto the Vice Mayor and Councilmember Weinberg, look to see if there were other samples out there where we could borrow some of the language. But I don't want that to take away from what I'm hearing, I think, from all of us, which is what I think we really need to do tonight, which is to send a very clear, strong, unanimous message that the entire Los Altos City Council supports Proposition 1. And so whether it's a motion to support it, a motion to adopt the resolution, or I don't know if Councilmember Weinberg is prepared to quickly make edits to the current version, I do want to make sure that everyone understands listening, because this affects every single one of us here in our community, that we do support Proposition 1. It's the right thing to do. You know, the city attorney explained we're limited in what we can do after tonight, but even just taking this strong position tonight, I think is important. And so I want to thank staff. I want to thank my colleagues from what I'm hearing, that we're taking this next step, this very important step, to show strong support for Proposition 1. Thank you.
And Councilmember Lee Eng.
I didn't hear a second to your motion, so I'd be glad to second your motion, Mayor.
Okay. And I thought I saw Councilmember Weinberg raise a thumbs up. My concern with the Humboldt motion is that the counties have profound involvement in providing health services. And so a lot of what's in the Humboldt motion is because it's a county function, and what the county does in terms of health services, I think is well represented in their motion. So I
did edit that out if you'd like to see it, but if it's not the council's,
I'm not sure that we can, we're going to have to get a decision from the city attorney on whether the suggested edits are within bounds for motion for moving tonight on taking an action, or whether they are too many to allow us to take an action. So has she seen your potential edits, council member?
No, the only thing I was going to comment on is I've seen the Encinitas resolution, and I have a concern about it, because it does go as far as urging the residents to vote.
What I heard Councilmember Weinberg say is that this is the Humboldt.
But then someone mentioned Encinitas, so I wanted to say, Humboldt is one thing, but I want to stay away from Encinitas at this point.
Okay.
I looked at the Encinitas one, but I think for that very reason, I thought it was not appropriate. The Humboldt one, it's in the packet, so the council and the public have had an opportunity to see it.
can you share your proposed edits? I know how well you do track changes, council member.
Can you see it?
Yes. See, I'm ready to scroll down. Is everybody ready to scroll down a little bit? Because I think we're clear, don't have a whole lot at the end. I think this is where the attorney, our city attorney, was a little concerned about the last whereas and encouraging voters to vote in favor of. That's what I heard her just now express a concern about. So city attorney, would you take a look at that last whereas clause?
Yeah, I would not, I would strike encouraging voters to vote in favor. That sounds like the Encinitas one that gave me pause. So yeah, supporting, supporting language like that, endorsement, support efforts. But yeah, when you go as far as saying to vote for or vote against, that makes me nervous.
And may I, Mayor?
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
In that same, whereas, again, I sticking with the theme of abortion, and it's either access to, as it says in the next one, reproductive health services, or access to abortion and contraceptives. I don't, it's not by itself, neither of them by itself. And that's my one wordsmith of the year.
Okay, what we don't have right now is actually something that supports Proposition 1. So I don't think it's actually called out.
It's at the end. It's at the end.
It's at the very end. There we go. Okay. City Attorney, are you comfortable with these changes?
Yes.
Okay, then I will move adoption with the council members, with thanks to Councilmember Weinberg.
Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
could we bring it back up again?
Sure. Councilmember Weinberg is adept at that, I know.
Can we scroll down, please? Do I scroll or he?
He scrolls.
Okay, I suppose right to access abortions. Isn't it the last sentence should be to rights of all residents to access to and supports
I
the
think
rights?
abortions and reproductive
Yeah,
health
that
services.
it
is
didn't
what-
work. It didn't flow well.
Yeah,
for me.
it wasn't a complete sentence. Councilmember Weinberg, I think. Access to abortions and reproductive health services. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll move adoption of the amended resolution shown on our screen. Councilmember Weinberg?
I'd be glad. Why was your first second?
I think everybody's going to want to do the seconding. I think given that Councilmember Weinberg did the editing, sir, if you would like to second, you're certainly welcome to.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I second the motion.
Thank you. And so would City Clerk please call the roll?
Yes, Mayor, members of the council, if you are in favor of the edited version of the resolution as presented by Councilmember Weinberg, please indicate so by answering in the affirmative. Councilmember Weinberg.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Flagger.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Lee Eng.
Yes.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Meadows.
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Enander.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. Thank you to my colleagues. And that concludes our agendized business. We move now to reports. Anybody have anything they want to report? Councilmember Weinberg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Saturday night, my kids and I attended the movie at Grant Park. They were showing Monsters, Inc. That was put on by the city's Parks and Recreation Department in coordination with Los Altos Mountain View Community Foundation. It was a great turnout. Probably, I would think at least over 100 people and 20, 30, 40 families. So great turnout. Because of a power failure, there was an unplanned intermission, but it really was a fun night. It was a cold night, but it was a fun night. And I really want to give a shout out to staff and the Parks and Rec Department. They did a great job, and it was a very welcoming environment. It was a lot of fun.
Great. Anyone else? Councilmember Flagger.
So I attended the Los Altos School District safety session, the first of what I hope will be many sessions where they talked about school safety. And our very own Captain Kraus was there and did an excellent job as one of the panelists. So I really want, and also Officer Cottrell, Josh, was also there. So I just want to, I hope I didn't butcher his last name. So I do want to recognize the fact that, you know, they continue to make the extra time for our community. This was an evening event and doing an excellent job and staying after the event to answer questions. So big thank you to that team.
Great. Anyone else? Councilmember Lee Eng.
I attended the celebration of acquisition of our property, our county property, so that way we can have North County medical services that would be made available for residents of to have county services. And they don't have to travel all the way to San Jose, but we can get something local here in North County. So I just wanted to share that it'll be at Middlefield in Palo Alto next to Summer Winds. So I'm excited. It's going to get remodeled before we go to another ribbon cutting ceremony. So just the fact that we were celebrating the acquisition of that site and that it will be coming soon. Thank you.
And big shout out to Supervisor Simidian, who has worked so hard to make that happen. Anyone else before I speak? Mr. Maginot, I'm going to say one thing before I call on you, please. And that is I want to especially acknowledge Adine Miller, who is on as an attendee tonight, and thank him and the Los Altos Mountain View Community Foundation for, again, everything that they did with respect to the Compassion Week event and the ongoing support of our community members and the various needs, the broad needs that LACF supports and takes care of, often unacknowledged and unknown, except to those who benefit from them. So thank you again, Mr. Miller, for that. Mr. Maginot.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did want to let the council and members of the public know that the next city council meeting on November 15th will be a hybrid meeting. Council members and members of the public will have the option to attend the meeting both or either in person or virtually. Those who wish to attend in person, the meeting will be held at the Los Altos Community Center in the Sequoia Room.
Sequoia Room. Everybody got that? All right.
Just, Mr. Maginot, what's the capacity of the Sequoia Room? It's not our big one.
It is not the big one. We are confident that we will have enough room for those who wish to attend with enough space for physical distancing.
All
as
right.
appropriate.
Thank you for making that happen.
And I just saw our city manager pop in. So Mr. England, was there something you wanted to add?
I was just going to add, I believe the capacity of that room is mid-80s.
So next I would ask if there's any staff report, further staff report, and if not, we'll take suggested changes to items for an agenda, future agenda.
No additional reports from staff, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other items for the future? Then I'm going to close this meeting with thanks to staff for all their work that presented a number of items for us for consent that we were successful in passing, and for all the work that went into the Complete Streets Plan. And I know that safety of our residents is #1 priority, and that pursuing the key elements of that plan will go a long way to helping to improve safety for our kids going to school, for those of our residents who prefer to bike or otherwise scoot around, as well as improving, we hope next, tackling a little bit about traffic. So with that, I am going to declare us adjourned at 8:17. Thank you all.
Good night.
Recording stopped.
Good night.